So I constantly get asked the question with these suction cup surf gates, how do you build them and how do you get them to stick? So I'll go over the one that I've made here. It costs about $14 or $15 per gate to build. Really easy to use, and you can find the parts in almost any decent sized city. So first off, I use this vinyl siding. It's a PVC vinyl siding from Home Depot. And you can find it by all of the kind of white siding. It's all in one area. And this stuff's like 7.5 or 7 3/4 by, I think you can only buy it in 20-foot lengths. So unfortunately, this board is $50, but you can make at least 4 or 5, and if not, maybe up to 7 or 8 of these gates per board. So you cut it here anywhere between 8 and 15 inches. I tend to find that a little larger is a little better. I cut it at an angle, but you don't need to. This can be inches away from the hull. You just might get a little bit more spray. And you can choose whatever angle you want. You can actually do 90 degrees here, and it'll be no problem at all. Or I've seen people go all the way back here and just make it longer. If you'll notice, to attach it, we just use some standard deck screws. Stainless steel is ideal, but they're a little more expensive. You can use whatever you have laying around. And what I do is I cut one of these boards lengthwise. So I cut it like this, and then you can see that I kind of trim it a little bit down here so it fits in a little bit better. But all you have to do is lay it down in the middle of this orange suction cup. These suction cups are made by Pittsburgh. They're available at any Harbor Freight, and they're under $10. If you get one of their coupons, it's going to be a little less. Buy 5 or 6 of them. They rarely break, but I like to keep an extra one in the boat. Now the advantage of using this PVC stuff from Home Depot is that it's a closed cell foam, which means it floats. So even if you lose your suction cup completely, even if this thing does fall off the boat, which I've never had this model fall off, not even once, you can still retrieve it in the water. So there's a lot of different handles out there. There's a chrome one on Amazon. There's a black one on Amazon called the HOD, the handle on demand. I've had terrible luck with all of them. The one thing I will say about the Harbor Freights is that these can break. So if you do buy the $8 or $10 black model on Amazon, the handle on demand, you can switch these little tabs from the handle on demand to the orange suction cup thing here. And it's called a grab handle, I think for moving glass or something like that. You'll find it typically in the automotive section by the bodywork stuff at Harbor Freight. So now that we've gone over the kind of basics of how to build one of these and what they look like, let's look at putting it on. So this is a Malibu 2005 VLX. This hull was exactly the same from 2005 until 2009. And it's the exact same hull shape as the 2004 to 2009 23 LSV with Malibu as well. So I'm going to show you exactly where I put mine. And I put mine back here. If you're looking at the rear ballast, or if you're looking at the rear thing here, you put it almost all the way to the back. And I know that might be difficult to see, but you can do it like this. And usually the front one, if you try and pump that handle a few times, you can get it to suck on all on its own. Sometimes you got to get it wet, and of course in the water, you're either going to be in the water doing this, which means you got to swim against the boat, or you've got to lean over the back of the boat if you have long arms. But one thing that I can say when you're putting these things on, it's incredibly hard to hold my own phone and do this, is there's a couple of tricks. So I'm going to bring it up on the top here, just so I can show you the tricks, maybe on the side. Okay, so trick number 1 is that use one of your hands to hold the middle against the hull while you use your other hand, ideally, to make it suction. Now, sometimes you've got air under here that you need to let out. So you just pump this thing a few times left and right. And sooner or later, it's going to feel really hard to push down, and that's great. That's exactly what you want it to do. Sometimes you'll need to use one of your other hands and sort of push on the tops and the ends in order to get this thing to stick. The further back you put it, the trickier it is to put on. So I recommend when you practice with it a little more forward, maybe under the front here. It'll still work, it just won't give you as much of a long wave. It'll give you kind of a shorter, steeper wave, which is actually fine for when you're learning. It's just like going a little bit slower, to tell you the truth.
And then typically when it's far back, it's gonna be the front one that you get to stick first. And so you just push this thing down and it sticks. I can hang off of this thing as a 200-pound man right now and it will not go anywhere. And you can see it just does not even budge. It becomes a really solid unit. So that's my tricks. Really, when you're in the water, you either gotta swim and swim against it, and then put your hands on the sides like this while you use your other hand to move this. Or you can try sliding it forward a little bit or hanging off the side. Practice on the trailer if it makes it easier, or on the lift like this. Or practice in the water somewhere where you can stand, like a sandbar or on the shoreline, and you'll get the hang of it, because it's always more difficult when you're in the water. Also, if you're trying to put it on while you're swimming in the water, you really want to have a life jacket on, otherwise you're going to be fighting it the whole time. But I'll post another video or two of what this thing looks like with a whole bunch of ballast weighed down, and it does a really great job on the wake. I think the next thing that I'm going to try is making a version of this that's quite a bit longer, probably about twice this length, to mimic the square inch area of surfgate. But I hope this helps, and good luck out there. You should enjoy the wave.